Hello, my friends. Just thought I would make another quick binge tales for you all. Enjoy. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the remote campground. The chill of the night settled in, and the crackling campfire was the only source of warmth and light for Martin, a middle-aged man who had ventured into the unknown. Just days ago, he had decided to embark on a camping trip to a place he had never visited before, hoping to escape the monotony of his everyday life. As darkness enveloped the campground, the sound of rustling leaves echoed through the stillness. Martin, who had carefully parked his truck a short distance away, felt a shiver run down his spine as he realized he may have found himself in a less than ideal situation. His truck, seemingly out of nowhere, had died mysteriously, leaving him stranded and unable to escape. He couldn't understand why it had happened or what sinister force may have caused it. Feeling a sense of unease settle deep within, he approached Warren, a fellow camper who had set up his tent nearby. Warren, a rugged man with a grizzled beard, appeared to be engrossed in chopping wood. Martin cleared his throat to catch his attention. "Hey, Warren," Martin called out tentatively. "Did you happen to see anything strange around my truck earlier? It just died and I can't figure out why." Warren lowered his axe and turned towards Martin, a furrow forming on his weathered brow. "Your truck, you say?" "Nah, didn't see a thing. But this place, Martin, it has a way of playing with folks' minds. Strange things happen here, so best be on your guard." Martin's heart skipped a beat as a sense of foreboding washed over him. He thought Warren's words were just a result of the mounting tension in the air. But as the conversation continued, it became apparent that something truly sinister was amiss in this campground. Throughout the night, Martin encountered other campers who shared their own chilling tales of inexplicable occurrences. Emma, a young woman camping with her family, spoke of eerie whispering sounds that drifted through the trees even when no one else was around. Jacob, a solitary camper, described waking up to find strange claw marks etched on his tent, seemingly carved by an unseen presence. Martin's mind filled with a mix of fear and curiosity. He couldn't shake the feeling that something demonic lurked within the shadows of the campground. Determined to uncover the truth, he set out on a quest to find answers. Following Warren's suggestion, Martin ventured deeper into the surrounding woods, his flashlight cutting through the inky darkness. As he walked, he noticed odd symbols etched onto trees, withered branches forming twisted patterns. Each step he took brought him closer to an unholy secret concealed within the heart of the campground. Eventually, Martin stumbled upon a hidden clearing enveloped in an eerie silence. His heart pounded in his chest as he spotted a group of hooded figures gathered around a bonfire chanting dark incantations that sent shivers down his spine. Fear gripped Martin, and he realized he had unwittingly stumbled upon a gathering of malevolent forces. Before he could retreat, one of the figures turned its head towards him, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly intensity. A cackle escaped its lips, echoing through the night. Suddenly, the hooded figures dispersed into the darkness, leaving Martin alone and trembling. He sprinted back towards the campground, propelled by sheer terror. As he arrived, he found the once bustling site now abandoned, with no sign of the campers he had encountered earlier. A sense of desolation washed over him, and he realized that these campers were never real. They were manifestations of the demonic presence that had captured him within its clutches. Trembling with fear, Martin picked up his pace, determined to escape. The wind howled with an unnatural ferocity, and the night seemed to close in on him, swallowing his every step. It was a battle against unseen forces as he fought his way through the darkness, ignoring the whispers that threatened to invade his mind. As dawn approached, Martin finally reached the outskirts of the campground. He glanced back one last time, his heart heavy with the knowledge of the malevolent presence that lurked within. Though he had survived this nightmarish ordeal, he knew that the haunting memories of the demonic campground would forever haunt his dreams. That fateful camping trip became a reminder for Martin never to venture into the unknown without heeding the warning signs. The chilling tale of his encounter served as a harbinger for others, a grim reminder of the darkness that can lay hidden in even the most innocent-looking places.
Deep in the heartland, nestled amidst expansive fields and swaying crops, stood an abandoned farm. The stories whispered by locals were filled with chilling tales of unexplained disappearances and dark deeds. But curiosity was an insidious force, and it beckoned to young couples searching for adventure. Such was the case for Lily and Mark, a couple in their early 20s, who embarked on a fateful journey to explore the dilapidated ruins of this farm. As they approached the rusty gates, an eerie silence enveloped the air. Weeds entwined the creaking fence, giving the impression that nature had claimed this forsaken place. The farm itself appeared frozen in time. Crumbling walls and shattered windows bore witness to the passage of years. Undeterred by the ominous aura, Lily and Mark pushed open the decaying front door, their eyes adjusting to the gloom within. A musty smell clung to the air, as if the very essence of abandonment permeated the space. The couple shivered slightly, their anticipation tinged with apprehension. Their footsteps echoed through the empty farmhouse, each creaking floorboard adding to the cacophony of unease. They explored the dimly lit rooms, the flickering beams of their flashlights painting shadows that seemed to dance along the peeling wallpaper. A pervading sense of being watched began to suffocate their curiosity. In the darkest corner of an antiquated bedroom, Mark's flashlight beam caught something horrifying, a photograph. Frozen in time, it depicted a man with a twisted, deformed visage, his deranged eyes seeming to follow their every move. The couple exchanged anxious glances, their initial excitement turning into a gnawing fear. Before they could retreat, a blood-curdling scream sliced through the air. Their hearts palpitated as they hurriedly fled the room, instinct screaming at them to escape the clutches of peril. But the old floorboards betrayed their presence, creaking beneath their weight like a foreboding alarm. Down narrow hallways they raced, their breaths ragged and their minds racing. Behind them, blades of grass grew wild through the cracks in the wooden floor, a bizarre testament to the farm's silent wrath. With each step, the presence of the deformed man lurched closer, his heavy footsteps and raspy breath hot on their heels. Hyperventilating, they crashed into an overgrown backyard, their bodies colliding with an iron fence that encircled the property. Desperation spread through their veins as they frantically searched for an exit. The stark realization washed over them. It was a trap, a ruse set up by the deranged farmer who once ruled this forsaken land. And then they saw him, the twisted figure of a man, his deformed features contorted into a smile that defied reason. In his hands a chainsaw gleamed ominously, the metal teeth whispering their intent for gruesome destruction. The glint of madness danced in his eyes, as if he derived perverse pleasure from the hunt. Adrenaline surged through their veins as they sprinted toward the neighboring fields, their lungs burning with each desperate breath. The towering cornfields swayed around them, creating a labyrinth of uncertainty. But the relentless revving of the chainsaw pushed them onward, their minds teetering on the edge of sanity. The chase continued relentlessly, the deranged farmer displaying uncanny endurance in his pursuit. His distorted laughter echoed through the night, a chilling soundtrack that fueled their terror. With every fleeting glance over their shoulders, they caught glimpses of his nightmare-inducing figure, his mangled form almost bestial in nature. Through the moonlit haze, they stumbled upon a dilapidated barn, its doors ajar, offering temporary sanctuary. Their trembling hands fumbled to lock the entrance, desperation fueling their rapid movements. Inside, shadows danced on the walls as the farmer circled, his laughter bouncing off the dilapidated beams. In this desperate refuge, the couple clung to each other, trembling with fear and grappling with their dwindling hope. The air became stagnant and heavy, as if the darkness itself had taken corporeal form. Whispers of fate flickered around them, the sinister presence emanating from the very walls. And then, silence fell like a shroud. The sound of footsteps ceased, giving way to a spine-tingling stillness. Holding their breath, they exchanged a wary glance, questioning whether the nightmare had come to an end. But as they ventured out of their sanctuary, they were met with a sight that would haunt their nightmares forever. An empty barn devoid of the deranged man. Days turned into weeks and weeks into years, yet the memory of that harrowing night refused to fade. The farm, still standing in silent desolation, served as a chilling reminder of the malevolent force that lurked within. Never again would they venture into the unknown without caution, for their encounter with the deranged man with the chainsaw had forever etched fear into.
In the heart of a bustling city stood the Boardwalk Apartments, a robust structure with a silent secret buried deep beneath its foundations. Unbeknownst to the tenants going about their daily lives, a sinister force lurked in the depths, an ancient demon craving for liberation. The basement, a place concealed by shadows and forgotten by time, harbored an abomination that had haunted the building for centuries. Its presence whispered through the walls and rattled the pipes, a merciless reminder of the evil it possessed. Curious and unsuspecting souls often dismissed the strange occurrences, dismissing them as mere tricks of the mind. Emily, a young and ambitious journalist, had recently moved into the Boardwalk Apartments. Eager to explore the darker side of city life, she had no idea that she would soon become a player trapped in a nightmare. Her curiosity piqued when a mysterious neighbor mentioned the unsettling rumors surrounding the basement and its supernatural inhabitant. Unable to resist the temptation, Emily ventured into the basement one night, armed with a flashlight and her relentless drive for the truth. Descending the creaking staircase, she entered the abyss below. The air grew colder, the shadows more pervasive as she descended further into darkness. The moment Emily's light pierced the pitch-black void, an eerie presence manifested before her, materializing into a grotesque form, a demon with sharp horns, leathery skin, and eyes that pierced through her soul. Its malevolence permeated the room, suffocating any semblance of hope. A gust of wind extinguished her flashlight, leaving her at the mercy of the demonic entity dwelling within. Panic consumed Emily as she scrambled to escape, feeling the demon's cold breath upon her neck. With every step she took, the oppressive darkness hindered her progress, as if the demon commanded the very shadows themselves. Whispers echoed through the basement as sanity slowly slipped from Emily's grasp. The demon toyed with her mind, conjuring vivid illusions that twisted reality. Her eyes deceived her, showing fragmented visions of her darkest fears brought to life, a mosaic of terror and despair. As Emily fought against the illusion, a glimmer of courage ignited within her. Remembering an old book she had once read, she realized that the demon's power relied on fear and ignorance. The key to its defeat lay in uncovering its true name, a name that held the demon's essence and would grant her power over it. Summoning the last vestiges of her resolve, Emily screamed into the abyss, demanding the demon to reveal its identity. With a roar that shook the building's foundations, the demon's true name reverberated, and the taste of victory danced upon Emily's lips. With the demon's name ringing in her ears, Emily unleashed her wrath and banished it back into the depths from whence it came. The basement trembled, as if grateful for its liberation. Yet, Emily knew that these buildings, wrapped in shadows and secrets, would forever carry the weight of their dark history. Word of Emily's harrowing encounter spread throughout the Boardwalk Apartments. Tenants shared hushed stories of the demon, cautioning others with fearful glances. In the end, the residents would always live on the edge of uncertainty, never fully knowing if the demon that dwelled in their midst would ever rise again, hungry for vengeance. The sun dipped behind the horizon, casting vibrant hues across the endless expanse of the ocean as the luxurious cruise ship named Serenity pushed forth through the currents. It had been days since the ship had left port, filled with eager vacationers seeking a respite from the mundane routines of their lives. Little did they know that this voyage would become a nightmare they could never forget. On board, laughter and excitement filled the air as passengers indulged themselves in the luxuries the ship had to offer. The golden decks glimmered beneath their eager feet, and the sound of clinking glasses and soft music soothed their weary souls. Amidst the revelry, something sinister lurked just beyond the gleaming walls. A dark energy pulsed through the ship, undetectable to the unknowing guests. In the depths, hidden from prying eyes, a forgotten cargo of malevolent intention was kept. Days turned into nights, And as the ship sailed further into the vast abyss, strange occurrences began to unsettle the passengers. Whispers echoed through the hallways, tales of figures seen lurking in the shadows. Some claimed to have glimpsed peculiar painted faces, sinister grins stretching across their white corpse-like skin. Whispers turned to screams when the ship disappeared from all radars. Panic seized the passengers as they realized they were isolated, surrounded by an endless void of water with no sign of rescue. Fear spread like wildfire, fueled by the terrifying rumors that grew with each passing hour. Days turned to weeks, and just as hope began to dwindle, the ship reappeared, docking at a secluded port. The passengers' relief was short-lived as they found themselves stepping into a surreal nightmare. The once glamorous ship had transformed into a sinister maze, filled with twisted laughter and bloodstains. Killer clown zombies with painted faces stripped of joy roamed the ship with an insatiable hunger for flesh. Their maniacal laughter echoed through the empty hallways, their footsteps sounding out of sync, a chilling symphony that played on the guests' frayed nerves. Gone was the warm glow of the golden decks, replaced by an eerie darkness that seemed to devour every flicker of the emergency lights. The twisted corridors of Serenity became a macabre amusement park. The passengers turned into unwilling participants of a sinister carnival of death. Survivors banded together, gripping tightly onto their sanity as they formed a desperate alliance. Armed with whatever they could find as weapons, they navigated the labyrinthine corridors, their hearts pounding with fear and adrenaline. Every door they opened concealed harrowing scenes. Cabins turned into nightmare chambers adorned with gruesome scenes and blood-soaked decorations. The once pristine dining halls were now desolate, tables toppled, and broken plates scattered across the floor. The survivors pushed forward, their faces etched with terror, their minds plagued by the desperate need to escape. They battled against the relentless onslaught of clown-like fiends, creatures that were once human, their souls stolen and replaced with an insatiable hunger for violence. But like any nightmare that refuses to end, the ship seemed to expand, the walls constantly shifting, separating the group, and forcing them to confront their fears alone. Each survivor was tormented by their own personal demons, forced to confront their darkest desires and deepest terrors. As the days turned into an eternal darkness, the surviving passengers clung to the hope of rescue, their belief in the possibility of salvation becoming their lifeline. They fought against the growing despair, their spirits fueled by the memories of loved ones left behind. And then, in a moment of unexpected unity, the passengers managed to overcome their fears and defeat the abominable creatures that had taken over the once proud vessel. With the last echoes of ominous laughter fading away, they set fire to the ship, determined to eradicate the horrors that had haunted them for so long. As the flames engulfed the vessel, a sense of relief washed over the survivors as they bid farewell to the cursed Serenity. On another ship, their salvation awaited, and they sailed away from the burning inferno, vowing to never forget the horrors they had endured. The tale of the vanishing cruise ship and the killer clown zombies would become an infamous legend, a cautionary tale that warned future adventurers of the dangers lurking beneath the glamorous facade of the unknown. And as the survivors stepped ashore, forever changed, they carried the weight of their nightmares, forever etched into their souls by those twisted faces and maniacal laughter that had plagued their dreams.
Once upon a time in the turquoise waters of a remote tropical paradise, there lived a bold and adventurous ocean diver named Jake. He spent his days exploring the mysterious depths, searching for hidden shipwrecks and long-lost treasures. His love for the ocean was matched only by his insatiable hunger for adventure. One sunny morning, Jake set out from the small coastal village aboard his trusty diving boat, equipped with all the necessary gear. The ocean waves danced playfully beneath his vessel as he sailed further and further away from the safety of the shore. Little did he know that a dark and malevolent force lurked beneath the tranquil surface. As he arrived at the rumored location of a legendary sunken treasure, Jake prepared himself for the dive of a lifetime. He donned his wetsuit, secured his oxygen tank, and double-checked his diving equipment. With his heart pounding with excitement, he plunged into the crystalline waters, disappearing into the unknown depths. As Jake descended deeper into the cold, dark abyss, the beauty of the underwater world enveloped him. Schools of brightly colored fish darted through the coral reefs, and gentle sea turtles glided gracefully overhead. But amidst this picturesque scene, an eerie stillness hinted at something sinister lurking nearby. Guided by his underwater flashlight, Jake continued his descent, following the trail of wreckage that led him closer to the treasure. Suddenly, a shadowy figure emerged from the murky distance, dwarfing everything else around it. It was a colossal sea monster, its grotesque features sending a chill down Jake's spine. Terrified but determined, Jake tried to reason with the creature, but it had already set its savage eyes upon him. With a mouthful of razor-sharp teeth and tentacles that seemed to stretch on forever, the sea monster lunged towards him, its hunger evident in its every movement. In a desperate bid to survive, Jake kicked himself away narrowly, avoiding the monster's lethal grasp. He swam with all his might, racing towards the surface and the safety of his boat. But to his horror, the sea monster pursued him relentlessly. As Jake burst through the surface, gasping for air, he cried out to his crewmates aboard the boat for help. Panicked, they maneuvered the vessel in a desperate attempt to escape the wrath of the monstrous creature. The boat sped through the water, its engine roaring, but the enraged sea monster refused to relent. In an unexpected turn of events, the colossal creature struck the boat with such force that it flipped over, throwing Jake into the turbulent sea. Disoriented and disheartened, he realized that his escape had been futile. The sea monster's cold, lifeless eyes locked onto him as it descended upon him once more. Powerless against the beast's massive strength, Jake felt himself being dragged deeper and deeper into the abyss. The ocean's pressure intensified around him, squeezing the air from his lungs. As he tumbled through the abyssal darkness, his mind filled with regret for venturing into the unknown. In his final moments as he met his watery grave, the treacherous sea monster claimed its victory. The secrets of the sunken treasure remained entangled with Jake's doomed fate, forever lost to the depths of the sea. And so the tale of the treasure-hunting ocean diver and the ferocious sea monster became a chilling legend, a warning to all who dared to explore the mysteries lying beneath the enchanting beauty of the tropical waters.
Barbie and Ken had always been the perfect couple. Beautiful, stylish, and so in love. They lived in a dream house adorned with vibrant colors and intricate details, a true manifestation of their seemingly perfect lives. But beneath their plastic veneer, a dark secret lurked within the walls of their once beloved dream house. The winding corridors echoed with the whispers of forgotten souls, and the flickering lights cast eerie shadows on the walls. Barbie had always been oblivious to the malevolent energy that surrounded them, but Ken couldn't ignore the feeling that something was profoundly wrong within their own personal paradise. He couldn't shake the disturbing images that invaded his dreams, especially that brunette ghost always chasing me throughout the house when Barbie isn't home, nor the unease that crept into every corner of my mind. One night, as the couple lay in their miniature bed, a distant scratching noise echoed through the house, sending a shiver down their spines. Barbie initially attributed it to the wind or a house-settling sound, dismissing Ken's concerns. But with each passing night, the scratching grew louder and closer, as if some unseen entity desperately clawed its way closer to their room. Unable to ignore the mounting dread, Ken decided to investigate. Creeping through the darkened hallway, he followed the source of the noise until he reached an inconspicuous door tucked away in a dusty corner of the basement. As he opened it, a blast of frigid air rushed out, chilling him to the core. The room beyond the door was a stark contrast to the opulence they had known. Dust-covered shelves lined the walls, displaying a curious assortment of forgotten toys, with their glass eyes seemingly watching Ken's every move. Wooden floorboards creaked beneath his weight, and as he approached the center of the room, intricate symbols etched into the ground caught his attention. An unexpected voice whispered behind him, "Welcome, Ken. We've been waiting for you." Startled, Ken turned around to find Barbie standing at the entrance, her typically vibrant plastic features now distorted and unsettling. Her eyes glowed with an unnatural glow, and her once lush hair grew tangled and matted. Racked with fear, Ken stumbled backward, unable to comprehend the sight before him. Barbie's voice changed as she continued, a sinister tone dripping from her lips. This house, this dreamlike facade we've been living, is a testament to the evils that dwell within it. We have become captives of our own creation, trapped within the nightmare house we once believed to be our paradise. Ken's mind raced, desperately trying to make sense of the insanity that now surrounded him. What do you mean? Who is behind all this? Barbie's grotesque transformation continued as she answered. The original owners of this house were driven to madness, lured into the darkness by a sinister presence. They unwittingly unleashed an ancient evil that feeds on the dreams and fears of its inhabitants. That presence, it now thrives on us, forcing us to bear witness to unspeakable horrors. As Barbie spoke, the noose of terror tightened around Ken's throat. He knew he had to escape, to save himself and his beloved Barbie from the clutches of this malevolent force. But as he tried to retreat, the room filled with a suffocating fog that rendered him immobile. Time stretched into eternity as the fog dissipated, revealing not only Barbie but countless other twisted dolls with lives as tormented as their own. Collectively, they were all trapped within the nightmare house, forced to perpetually relive their darkest fears and suffer at the hands of the ancient evil. Now, Barbie and Ken stand in the center of the room, forever bound to their nightmare house and condemned to an eternity of terror. Their once perfect dream house has become their greatest nightmare, a hellish prison from which there is no escape. And so, the scratching persists, the tortured cries filling the halls. The nightmare house greedily claims new victims, ensnaring innocent souls into its web of terror. And as the dolls' lifeless eyes stare into the abyss, they silently mourn the days when they were no more than mere toys, the days when they truly lived. At the end of another horrifying night, Ken grew a pair and broke it off with Barbie. As Barbie sits in her enormous now nightmare house crying in denial of the breakup, Ken shows up to give the keys back, and with his new girlfriend he met at Mattel. This made Barbie very mad, and as they were leaving, waving her goodbyes, Barbie in a very evil and high-pitched voice yells, "This is not over. You will pay for this," followed by a very malevolent laugh. In the end, Barbie, as oblivious as she was, made Ken walk away, but what Ken did showing up with his new girlfriend just might haunt him for the rest of his life. Once upon a time, in the heart of a small, sleepy town, there was a quaint little McDonald's restaurant where everyone's favorite characters from McDonaldland gathered. It was a special day in McDonaldland, for it was Grimace's birthday. The lovable, purple behemoth with a perpetual smile on his face was turning 33, and his friends had planned a surprise party at their favorite fast food joint. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows across the golden arches, Grimace and his pals gathered inside the restaurant. Ronald McDonald, the cheery clown, was in charge of organizing the festivities. He had arranged a colorful table with balloons, party hats, and a towering cake with Grimace's face on it. "Happy birthday, Grimace," cheered Ronald, his red shoes squeaking as he clapped his hands. Grimace beamed, his round body jiggling with excitement. The other guests, including Birdie the early bird, the Fry Guys, and Mayor McCheese, all wore their best smiles to celebrate their friend's special day. Little did they know, lurking in the shadows outside the restaurant, was their most notorious enemy, the Hamburglar. He had been plotting his revenge for years, and he saw Grimace's birthday party as the perfect opportunity to strike. As the clock struck midnight, the restaurant's cheerful ambiance took a sinister turn. The lights flickered, and the once joyful decorations started to wither. Ronald's smile turned into a grimace, and the atmosphere grew chillingly cold. It was as if the very air had become tainted with malevolence. Suddenly, the doors burst open, revealing the menacing figure of the Hamburglar. His striped outfit, now tattered and torn, clung to his wiry frame. His eyes, gleaming with madness, scanned the room. "Happy birthday, Grimace," he sneered, his voice dripping with malice. "I hope you enjoy the party I've prepared for you." With a sinister grin, he snapped his fingers, and from the dark corners of the restaurant emerged his minions, tiny, demon hamburgers, each with sharp teeth and malevolent eyes. They scuttled across the floor, their claws scratching against the linoleum. Panic gripped the McDonaldland characters as they realized the horrifying truth. They were under attack by the Hamburglar's demonic hamburgers. Grimace, still wearing his birthday hat, wobbled to his feet, trembling with fear. "What do we do, Ronald?" he stammered. Ronald McDonald, who had donned a serious expression, pulled out a magic wand he had hidden in his oversized pants. With a determined wave, he chanted an incantation, creating a protective barrier around the group. The demonic hamburgers hissed and clawed at the invisible shield, unable to break through. Mayor McCheese, displaying uncharacteristic bravery, grabbed a nearby French fry and used it to fend off the hamburgers. Birdie the early bird flew overhead, pecking at the demon hamburgers with her sharp beak. The Fry Guys rallied together, forming a formidable wall of potato-based defense. But the Hamburglar was not done yet. He cackled maniacally and summoned more reinforcements. The demon hamburgers multiplied, their numbers overwhelming the heroes. The battle raged on, with the McDonaldland characters fighting valiantly to protect Grimace and their beloved restaurant. Just as it seemed they might succumb to the relentless onslaught, a bright light pierced through the darkness. The Hamburglar's evil plan had attracted the attention of the McWizard, the mystical guardian of McDonaldland. With a wave of his staff, he banished the demon hamburgers and imprisoned the Hamburglar in a cage of rainbow-colored French fries. The restaurant returned to its normal, cheerful state, and the party continued. Grimace and his friends celebrated their victory, knowing that the bond of friendship and their unwavering determination had triumphed over darkness once again. As the clock ticked towards dawn, Grimace blew out the candles on his cake, and everyone joined in for a chorus of "Happy Birthday." Little did they know that McDonaldland would always be a place where joy and friendship prevailed, no matter how grim the circumstances.
Through the Veil of Shadows. In the quiet town of Ravenswood, nestled deep within the heart of the forest, an ancient and malevolent force lurked, its name whispered through the terrified breath of children and adults alike: Slender Man. Legends told of his tall, gaunt figure, draped in a tattered black suit, a faceless void shrouded in darkness. His elongated limbs reached out like tendrils, ensnaring anyone unfortunate enough to cross his path. Tommy, a curious teenager with a penchant for the macabre, had become obsessed with legends like these. He scoured the internet, devouring stories of horror, searching for one that would truly send a chill down his spine. And then he found it, the tale of Slender Man. The allure of the supernatural gripped Tommy's imagination, compelling him deeper into the darkness. He became determined to uncover the truth behind the legend, to document proof of Slender Man's existence. Armed with a camera and a heavy sense of trepidation, he ventured into the thick woods that surrounded Ravenswood. As twilight descended, casting an eerie glow over the forest, Tommy felt a presence stirring in the shadows. The air grew heavy, every rustle of leaves an ominous whisper. Fear, tinged with a morbid fascination, propelled him further into the heart of the unknown. A chilling wind swept through the trees, chilling Tommy to his bones. Yet he pressed on, his footsteps becoming more hesitant with each passing minute. There, amidst the twisted branches and gnarled roots, he spotted something, a glimpse of darkness and elongated limbs. His heart pounded within his chest as he raised his camera, determined to capture evidence of Slender Man's existence. But as the flash illuminated the figure, a shiver ran down Tommy's spine, for in that fleeting moment he glimpsed the true horror. The faceless void fixated on him, penetrating his very soul with its malevolence. Panicking, Tommy turned and ran. The woods swallowed him whole, the shadows closing in around him. His breath came in ragged gasps as the branches clawed at his face, and his heart thundered in his ears. But no matter how fast he ran, Slender Man remained a constant presence behind him, forever lurking in the periphery of his vision. Tommy's watery eyes darted wildly, searching for an escape. In his frantic haste, he stumbled upon an old, dilapidated cabin, its rotting wood creaking in protest. Desperation gave him the strength to open the door and slide inside, hoping for sanctuary. As Tommy rushed into the cabin, he hesitated at the sight that greeted him. The air was heavy with the scent of decay, the room bathed in dim, flickering candlelight. Stacks of tattered photographs lined the walls, each depicting terrified faces caught in moments of sheer horror, victims of Slender Man's relentless pursuit. But it was what lay at the center of the room that sent a wave of dread coursing through Tommy's veins. A marred and worn journal lay open on the ground, pages filled with entries from those who had fallen to Slender Man's grasp. The words chronicled their descent into madness, the relentless torment that haunted their every waking moment. With trembling hands, Tommy reached out for the journal, only to feel a chilling presence behind him. Whirling around, he found himself face to face with Slender Man, his tendrils snaking out to ensnare him. The wretched creature's presence filled his vision, the world around him fading into a dark abyss. As Slender Man's grip tightened, Tommy's mind began to unravel, confronted with the sheer terror of the supernatural. Shadows danced before his eyes, tormenting his senses as he descended into madness. The journal fell from his grasp, a final testament to his ill-fated quest. Days turned to weeks, and Ravenswood mourned the loss of another soul consumed by Slender Man's grasp. The legend grew, feeding on the whispers of fear that traveled through the town. The forest, forever tainted with the presence of the faceless monster, became a place of dread and darkness. Tommy's story, a chilling reminder of the dangers that lie within the unknown, etched itself into the town's memory. The legend of Slender Man served as a haunting symbol, a cautionary tale against the pursuit of forbidden knowledge, urging all who heard it to respect the thin veil that separates the realms of light and shadow.
In the depths of a dense ancient forest shrouded in mystique and whispered tales of horror, lies a cabin. This cabin is no ordinary dwelling. It is the residence of a horrifying witch known only as Elira. Her archetype is the epitome of darkness, striking fear in the hearts of those who dare speak her name. Rumors circulate like restless spirits through nearby villages, painting a chilling picture of Elira's abode. It is said that the cabin possesses a power that beckons unsuspecting souls, pulling them inexorably into its clutches and to their doom. The forest trees whisper of the countless souls who have ventured near only to vanish without a trace. One stormy night, a young couple, Max and Emily, ventures into the realm of the unknown, driven by curiosity and an insatiable thirst for an authentic supernatural experience. Armed with a camera and oblivious to the dangers that lay ahead, they venture deep into the heart of the forest. The cacophony of squawking birds and rustling leaves surround them, heightening the sense of unease. As they navigate further into the labyrinthine woods, a thick fog descends, obscuring their vision and disorienting their senses. A foreboding silence settles upon them, unbroken save for the sound of their own pounding hearts. The once vibrant forest seems frozen, as if nature itself holds its breath. Suddenly, through the mist, the dilapidated cabin emerges like a ghastly specter. Its crumbling walls and rotting timbers exude malevolence, and an ominous aura radiates from its decrepit windows. Fear tugs at Max and Emily's core, but their desire to document something truly haunting compels them forward despite their instincts screaming in dissent. Cautiously stepping across the creaking porch, they push open the door, unleashing a stench of decay and despair that assaults their senses. Inside, the cabin appears frozen in time, with dust-covered artifacts and moth-eaten curtains suspended in eerie stillness. The air is thick with a malevolent presence, and a foreboding feeling washes over the couple. Max, driven by a sense of morbid curiosity, initiates the quest to document their encounter with Illyra. Armed with a camera, he explores each darkened room, capturing every unsettling detail. Emily's apprehension intensifies, her mind plagued with thoughts of the unknown horrors that might awaken in the presence of this wicked witch. As they delve deeper into the bowels of the cabin, an unnatural chill embraces them, seeping through their skin and burrowing deep into their souls. Whispers, barely audible, echo through the moldy halls, but the source remains elusive. Shadows dance across the walls, taunting the couple as they navigate the labyrinthine corridors. Unbeknownst to Max and Emily, Illyra has sensed their presence, her senses heightened to the intrusion. A formidable sorceress, she waits in the depths of her lair, watching, calculating, and preparing to unleash her wickedness upon the intruders, foolish enough to disturb her sanctuary. With each step, Max and Emily unknowingly draw closer to their demise. Shadows morph into clawed hands that grasp at their ankles, while ethereal voices whisper sinister incantations that warp their minds. Their once sturdy resolve falters in the face of the witch's malevolence, but escape seems impossible, as the cabin manipulates time and space at Illyra's whims. As the night wears on, every room becomes a twisted maze of nightmares. Emily's sanity teeters on the edge of oblivion, and Max's confidence wanes with each passing moment. Desperation takes hold, but every door they unlock only leads them deeper into the witch's dark designs. As they approach the culmination of their nightmarish journey, they reach a blood-stained chamber at the heart of the cabin. The air itself seems to choke them, and the walls bleed with ancient symbols etched in suffering. It's here that they face Illyra, her eyes burning with ancient malice. With a flick of her bony fingers, Illyra unleashes her deadly powers, bringing forth tendrils of darkness that ensnare Max and Emily, their screams reverberating through the cabin's haunted halls. Their final moments flicker between pain and terror as Illyra feeds off their fear, her wicked laughter echoing in their final breaths before twisting into silence. And so, the legend of Illyra, the horrifying witch of the deep forest cabin, endures. The souls of Max and Emily join the countless others trapped within the eternal nightmare, forever prisoners to her insidious powers. The cabin retreats back into the enigmatic forest, to be discovered by the unwary and doomed, a testament to the price of curiosity and the horrors that dwell within the world beyond our own.
Dave, an experienced hunter with a deep love for the wilderness, embarked on his solitary expedition deep within the heart of the dense forest. Armed with his trusty rifle and an unyielding spirit, he sought to conquer new terrain and capture nature's secrets through the lens of his camera. Little did he know, his encounter with a legend would turn his journey into a terrifying battle for survival. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows across the forest floor, an unsettling silence engulfed the area. The faint rustling of leaves and creaking of branches provided the only ambiance, signaling that Dave was encroaching on territory never traversed by humans before. As the moon's silvery glow bathed the forest in an ethereal light, Dave's heart pounded with anticipation. Suddenly, a distant growl echoed through the trees, making him freeze in his tracks. His senses heightened. He realized he was not alone. Something unimaginable lurked in the darkness, observing his every move. With caution, Dave navigated deeper into the vast expanse of twisted foliage, his camera at the ready. The pungent scent of nature filled his nostrils, mingling with an undeniable sense of unease. The forest floor was littered with broken branches, as though an incredible force had recently passed through. Paranoia gripped him as shadows danced in the undergrowth, making his nerves fray at the edges. A shiver ran down his spine as he heard a low, ominous thud resonate from the distance. It was getting closer.
Dave's heartbeat quickened, and he fervently hoped he was merely imagining things. Suddenly, the woods erupted in a cacophony of snaps and rumbles. Fear surged through Dave's veins, eroding his hunter's instincts. In that moment, his flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. Panic set in as he realized he was being stalked. A deafening roar reverberated through the forest, chilling Dave to the core. It was a sound that seemed to come from the very depths of hell, a guttural cry announcing the arrival of the legendary creature known as Bigfoot. Dave's mind raced, desperately seeking a means of escape. Swallowing his fear, Dave tried to retrace his steps to find a path back to safety. But Bigfoot, with its hulking silhouette and massive feet, blocked any chance of retreat. Its red, glowing eyes pierced Dave's soul, freezing him in terror. The creature moved with a grace that belied its enormous size, taunting Dave with every step. Desperation fueled his strength, and Dave sprinted through the underbrush, dodging thorny tendrils and fallen debris. He could hear Bigfoot's thunderous footsteps closing in, the earth trembling under its weight. Panic threatened to overwhelm him, but he refused to succumb. Branches whipped against his face, drawing blood and blurring his vision. He stumbled on rocks and gnarled roots, but adrenaline pushed him forward. Dave's body screamed in protest. His stamina waned, yet his will to survive grew stronger with each gasping breath. The hunted hunter's world narrowed to an intense tunnel of fear and determination. He dared not look back, knowing that even a fleeting glance could seal his doom. Guided only by his primal instincts, Dave fought through the forest chaos, with Bigfoot's ominous presence on his heels. Hours turned into an eternity as Dave desperately searched for sanctuary. His lungs burned, his muscles screamed, but he kept pushing, desperate for the slimmest chance at survival. Finally, he stumbled upon a small cavern hidden within a cluster of rocks, its entrance mysterious and foreboding. Dave's body collapsed as he sought refuge within the cold, damp depths of the cave. He listened intently for any signs of pursuit, but heard only his own labored breathing. In the depths of that dark abyss, he allowed exhaustion to overtake him. As daylight filtered through the cave's opening, Dave's eyes slowly fluttered open. The horrors of the previous night seemed distant, yet real. He was alone, save for the scratches and bruises that adorned his body as a reminder of his harrowing escape from Bigfoot's wrath. With trembling hands, he retrieved his camera, scrolling through the photos he had taken before the encounter. Among them, an image emerged, a blurry silhouette, a true testament to the face-to-face encounter that haunts his dreams to this day. Forever changed, Dave emerged from the depths of the forest, carrying the story of his survival. Whether it was a stroke of luck, sheer determination, or a brush with the supernatural, no one could ever truly comprehend the terrors he had faced. And as long as Bigfoot roamed those woods, his chilling encounter would serve as a warning to all who dared to venture too far off the beaten path.
The silence of the night was shattered by the creaking front door as it swung open. Clara and Henry, an elderly couple, cautiously stepped into the abandoned house that had stood untouched for decades. Their eyes glistened with a mix of fear and excitement as they walked into the darkness. They had always been fascinated by the supernatural, spending countless hours studying ancient texts and researching forbidden rituals. But this was different. This was their most daring expedition yet. They had stumbled upon a long-forgotten incantation, whispered to summon demons and unlock otherworldly powers. Clara, her silver hair cascading down her shoulders, clutched Henry's wrinkled hand with a mix of trepidation and determination. The couple trudged through a cobweb-covered hallway, their trembling footsteps echoing against the decaying walls. Dusty portraits stared down at them, their gazes painting the dim atmosphere with an eerie aura. In the study, adorned with faded books and crumbling manuscripts, Clara and Henry gathered their tools: a weathered pentagram etched onto the dusty wooden floor, ancient candles, and a cracked black mirror. In hushed tones, they chanted the forbidden words that danced on their tongues like fire. As the last syllable rolled from their lips, the room grew deathly still. Frosty breaths hovered in the air, engulfing the couple as the atmosphere thickened with an unsettling energy. Clara's eyes widened in fear as spectral mists began to materialize before them, taking shape and transforming into grotesque figures lurking in the shadows. The air filled with a cacophony of scratching sounds, as if an unseen force was clawing its way towards the couple. Suddenly, the mirrors lining the study walls began to crack, reflecting the grotesque images of the demons surrounding them. Clara and Henry exchanged worried glances, their earlier excitement overshadowed by impending dread. With each moment, the manifestations grew stronger. Demonic whispers, a haunting symphony of demonic laughter and agonized screams, swirled around them. The wailing souls of tormented spirits resonated through the halls, mingling with the howls of creatures from the darkest depths. As the couple stumbled back, their trembling hands inadvertently bumped into a long-forgotten lever concealed behind an old bookcase. The room shook violently, and the house seemed to groan in pain as if awakening from a deep slumber. The once abandoned house came alive. Doors slammed open and shut, wind whistled through unseen cracks, and the very foundation quivered beneath its weight. Pervasive darkness engulfed every corner, hiding the malevolent entities now unleashed within its walls. Clara and Henry, now trapped in their own nightmare, ran through labyrinthine halls, the relentless pursuit of the demons echoing behind them. They discovered secret rooms filled with cursed artifacts, walls adorned with grotesque paintings of unspeakable horrors. Each door they opened revealed ghastly visions, until they were left with no choice but to confront the evil they had summoned. They found themselves in the attic, the air heavy with the stench of decay. Shadows twisted and danced, contorted into sinister forms. Clara clutched a rosary, praying for salvation, while Henry held a fading torch in an attempt to pierce the consuming darkness. The demons encircled them, their malicious gazes penetrating their souls. Chills ran down the couple's spines as the figures took corporeal form, claws dripping with malice, eyes burning with otherworldly fire, and jagged fangs ready to tear into their flesh. Just as all hope seemed lost, a burst of light illuminated the room. Clara and Henry had inadvertently found and activated a protective amulet, once lost, amidst the chaos. The demons shrieked in agony, recoiling from the radiant force that now shielded the couple. With an indignant growl, the demons gradually retreated, slipping back into the depths from whence they came. The ancient house sighed, returning to its silent state once again, as Clara and Henry, battered and breathless, emerged from the horrors they had summoned. The experience forever marked them, a haunting reminder of their audacity. They had summoned forces they couldn't control, and in their desperate quest for the supernatural, they found themselves caught in the jaws of their darkest fears. The couple vowed never to tamper with the forbidden again, for the demons now knew of an elderly couple in an abandoned house, and they would always be lurking in the shadows, waiting for another chance to reclaim their territory. In the heart of the city, beneath the bustling streets, lay an intricate network of tunnels. These dark and eerie subterranean paths served as the veins that pumped life into the metropolis above. The subway system, with its endless labyrinth of tracks and platforms, became a breeding ground for tales of mystery and fear. Amongst the countless commuters who journeyed through the city's arteries, none could have predicted the terror that awaited them beneath the surface. It was said that a creature lurked within the depths of the subway system, an abomination born from the shadows themselves. Reports of strange occurrences had begun to spread like wildfire, leaving the urban legend to take root deep within the minds of the citizens. Whispers of missing persons and inexplicable sounds echoed through the gossip-ridden alleys. The story spoke of a creature with gnarled limbs and glowing red eyes that hunted late at night when the subway was shrouded in darkness and silence. Those unfortunate enough to encounter it would vanish without a trace, their presence reduced to nothing more than a haunting memory. One stormy evening, as the rain poured down relentlessly, a young woman named Sarah found herself alone on the platform of a desolate subway station. Her heart raced as she clutched her belongings tightly, the sense of unease settling deep within her bones. The dim, flickering lights offered minimal solace as she waited for her train to arrive. Minutes stretched into an eternity, and anxiety gnawed at Sarah's nerves. Just as despair began to take hold, the distant sound of approaching footsteps shattered the silence. Relief washed over her as she saw the familiar glow of headlights peeking through the tunnels, a sign that her escape from this eerie place was finally at hand. But as the train arrived, something felt undeniably wrong. The doors opened slowly, revealing a dimly lit carriage that seemed devoid of life. Sarah cautiously boarded her instincts on high alert. The doors hissed shut behind her, and she found herself surrounded by an ominous emptiness that unsettled her to the core. The train jerked into motion, lurching forward with a sudden ferocity that sent Sarah stumbling backward. Panic surged through her veins as she realized she was trapped, hurtling into the unknown abyss of the subway system. The flickering lights cast eerie shadows across the carriage, revealing the worn and weathered faces of the few remaining passengers. Their hollow eyes avoided any contact, their fear palpable even in the dim glow. Whispers floated through the air, but no one dared to break the heavy silence. As the train screeched to a halt at an unfamiliar station bathed in darkness, fear gripped Sarah's soul. The doors opened hesitantly, revealing nothing but an empty platform stretched out before her. Something compelled her to step out despite the lingering apprehension. Upon setting foot on the platform, Sarah felt a chill crawl up her spine. The air grew heavy with malevolence, and the unmistakable sound of unhinged laughter echoed through the shadows. It was then that she caught a glimpse of it, the creature that haunted the depths of the subway. With each step it took, the creature's long, sinewy limbs seemed to elongate impossibly, its razor-sharp claws scraping against the tiled floor. Its grotesque form was nothing short of nightmarish, its glowing red eyes fixated on Sarah as if it could taste her fear. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as the creature advanced, its unearthly growls reverberating through the station. Drenched in terror, she stumbled backward, desperate to escape the impending doom. But with each passing moment, the subway station seemed to warp and twist, trapping her within its inescapable grasp. As the creature elongated forward, Sarah's final screams were swallowed by the darkness. The shadows within the subway whispered their victory, leaving behind nothing but an empty platform and a chilling reminder of the horrors that lurked beneath the city. From that night on, the legend of the creature in the subway grew, as did the fear that gripped the hearts of those who dared to venture underground. The subway stations became silent tombs, their halls haunted by the lingering presence of those who had fallen victim to the darkness. And so the warning was passed down from generation to generation, a cautionary tale to remain vigilant, to never take for granted the safe embrace of daylight. For unbeknownst to most, the sinister creature in the subway awaited its next victim, forever hungry for the taste of human fear.
Once upon a time, in the quiet town of Ravenswood, there was a young and dedicated blonde nurse named Emma. Emma had recently started working at the old Victorian hospital located at the outskirts of town. Her job was demanding, but she had always found solace in taking care of others during their most vulnerable times. However, Emma soon realized that her new workplace carried an eerie atmosphere. The hallways were dimly lit, and the walls were adorned with unsettling paintings from years gone by. But what unnerved her the most was the ever-present sense of being watched. She often caught glimpses of something moving out of the corner of her eye, but whenever she turned to face it, the figure vanished. One fateful night, Emma was assigned to the graveyard shift. As the moon rose high in the sky, casting a ghostly glow through the hospital windows, she prepared herself for a long and haunting night ahead. The silent halls seemed to come alive with whispers as she went about her duties. Every creak and sigh echoed ominously, making the hairs on the back of Emma's neck stand on end. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was observing her every move. As the night wore on, Emma noticed a tall, dark figure lurking in the shadows. It appeared to be a silhouette of a man, but its features were obscured, making it impossible to recognize. Fear began to course through her veins, but she tried to convince herself that it was just a trick of her tired mind. Nevertheless, the figure persisted. It followed her from room to room, lurking just beyond her peripheral vision. Emma's heart pounded in her chest. and her hands trembled with unease. She knew she needed to stay focused on her patients, but it became increasingly difficult with the ominous presence looming over her shoulder. Time seemed to stretch on indefinitely, and the night became a blur of unease and constant vigilance. Emma's nerves were frayed and fatigue began to take its toll. The shadowy figure seemed to grow in strength, its presence becoming an oppressive weight on her shoulders. As dawn approached, Emma's shift finally came to an end. Exhausted, she gathered her things and headed for the exit. But to her horror, she discovered that the figure had followed her out of the hospital. It now stood at the edge of the parking lot, still shrouded in darkness. Heart-pounding, Emma quickened her pace, hoping to outrun whatever was haunting her. But no matter how fast she went, the figure seemed to effortlessly keep up. Its mere presence filled her with dread, knowing that it had followed her beyond the walls of the hospital. Tears streamed down Emma's face as she reached her home. She rushed inside, desperate to find safety from the relentless shadow. But as she locked the door behind her, she realized with horror that the figure was now standing on the other side of the window, its gaze fixed upon her. Terrified, Emma barricaded herself in her bedroom, convinced that she was trapped in a never-ending nightmare. The figure continued to haunt her, lurking just outside her window each night, watching her every move. Sleep became a distant memory as Emma's sanity began to unravel. Days turned into weeks, and Emma's life became a living hell. She could no longer distinguish between reality and the horrifying presence that stalked her. Her once blonde hair turned dull and lifeless, mirroring the despair that had seeped into her very soul. One evening, Emma had reached her breaking point. As she sat huddled in a corner of her room, the shadowy figure pressed its face against the window, causing the glass to frost over with an icy chill. Emma mustered up the last bit of strength and confronted the figure, screaming in defiance. To her shock, the figure recoiled, fading away into the darkness from which it came. Its presence vanished, leaving Emma trembling and alone. Relief washed over her, but she knew she would forever carry the scars of that haunting experience. Emma eventually left Ravenswood, seeking solace in a new town far away from the tormented memories. However, she knew that the shadow figure would always be a part of her, a reminder of the horrors she had endured. To this day, residents of Ravenswood speak in hushed whispers about the blonde nurse who was haunted by a shadow figure. Some believe it was the ghost of a past patient, while others believe it was a malevolent entity drawn to the hospital's dark history. But one thing remains certain. The tales of Emma's ordeal serve as a chilling warning, reminding us that some shadows are impossible to escape.
Hope you enjoyed. Those were some of my first ever made stories on YouTube. I'm sure you could probably tell in some of them. Oh, well, I've come a long way from those. And prepare yourself for the car wash portal dropping in day or two, and still couple holiday ones, so keep your eye open. Or I guess you could subscribe and smash those like buttons, and the bell notification will let you know when mine are dropped, so keep that in mind. And as always, I will see you on the dark side. Sweet nightmares.